What's going on, creators? Yeah, I just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate y'all being here and vibing with me for a bit. Yeah, today, I got some kind of a story to tell. It's kind of maybe looked at as intense or tragic, but it has to do with like my dad passing, from this life to the next, and that entire experience. And so, that just happened on Christmas Day, actually. And so I just wanted to like bring that to you guys, that might be dealing with loss or like a tragedy, or like a, just like a sudden thing like that, and kind of share like the story of that, and hopefully at the end of it, have more hope and joy and like peace about the situation instead of just endlessly, spending however long suffering this loss. And so, yeah, I wanted to bring that to you. So kind of the way things went down. It's just like I knew my dad was like in the hospital, and like I didn't realize like the severity of the situation. He didn't really. I don't think anybody really did. It's like he was in there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday it seemed like he was getting better. And then, Thursday morning, I get a phone call from his doctor, basically saying he's not going to make it. And this is like, the choice was like to put him on machines, which the doctor said that he would never come off of them, or just to make him comfortable and let things happen like that. And so it was like, the whole situation, seemed like surreal. And so me and my brother went to the hospital, and it was just like, well, between me and him, we were both thinking like, what Dad would have wanted was not to be hooked up to machines. And in my mind, having gone through so many of these like supernatural, spiritual experiences, I didn't actually even believe the doctor. It was one of those things. It's just like, okay, what, and so it was, my mindset at the time, was like, well, if Dad's gonna get like a miracle healing or some miraculous thing to happen, I'd rather. Make him comfortable and let God do what God's going to do versus just hooking up to a machine and just prolonging this thing. And so basically went to see how he was doing on Thursday, and he was unconscious, and they basically made it seem like he wouldn't live through the night. And so what I ended up doing was taking my hands and putting them on my dad, and just praying that God's will be done on my dad and the situation and everything. And it was just a really intense process of just surrendering to God, ultimately, that I didn't know whether or not he would miraculously heal him or just take him, or what it was going on, because it happened so fast. And so and then on top of it, getting a hold of family, and because most of my family on that side is all over the place. They get people in Florida, people in New York, people in Pennsylvania. It's just everybody's spread out, and no one, everybody was just so blindsided and sucker punched by the whole thing. It's just like the phone was blowing up, with people just being hysterical and emotional, and basically the only people physically in this area is just me and my brother. To have to kind of make these choices and make these decisions and everything. And so after that, left the hospital on Thursday night. Just my dad being unconscious like that is just like, okay, I'm going to get into the Bible and just really just focus on, prayer time and trying to figure out the situation, trying to understand, what is, God's will in this, and like, would God miraculously heal him? Because, as you get into the Bible, I had something hit my awareness before this even happened, to read Matthew and Mark, and in that awareness, it was like, you'll get something different out of it when you read it, and I just ended up reading Mark, that entire book of the Bible, and like in that, there's all these miraculous things from Jesus doing miracles, bringing people back from the dead, healing the sick, and all that kind of stuff, and and part of like laying hands on my dad, was like thinking, well, maybe we'll see some miraculous event happen. And I also got led to the part in the Bible, where Jesus is like telling his disciples, "Hey, I'm going to be crucified." And then I think it was Peter or something. It was like, I know that can't be. You can't die. And like Jesus rebuked him like that. It's just like, and so it was like part of the thing for me was like, if this is like the cross like my dad's going to have to bear, I didn't know. It was just in confusion, and so the progression went, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, he's still hanging in there, and it's like you guys were saying, he wasn't going to make it past Thursday night and to start making funeral arrangements and everything, what's going on, and they didn't know, and so yeah, they just were just like, well, it's just part of this process and whatnot. Well, then, went to church virtually went to church on Sunday, and they, the pastor and everything at the church I've been going to is like involved, just really thankful, have, people like that I wouldn't have had if I hadn't been going to like a local church, which, for people, that maybe just don't trust that, like going to a church and they just feel more comfortable just watching videos and stuff and, spiritually connecting like that. I do recommend, you asking God, go within yourself to be led to like a place that you can be around others, because it really does create like a bonding thing in the community, and it gives you more people that aren't just unconsciously just doing things for themselves and whatnot. And so anyway, so went through all that kind of stuff, and so on Sunday, I started was walking to the hospital because it was good for me to kind of just talk with God, going within and just trying to not let the situation make me become unconscious then too, and become hysterical and start lashing out at people, which was very difficult, because yeah, it was like everybody was calling so much, especially during that time, where it was causing issues with the amount of, I'd be on the phone and have like another phone call as I'm on the phone with another person while having text, while having this, and while, and at the same time, trying to process it and be actually kind of be there for others that are dealing with this a little bit more harsh, like not having maybe as strong a faith. Something like that, but like personally I was like kind of hoping to just have that closure kind of conversation with my dad. That didn't happen, because the day before I seen him, it seemed like things were getting better, and then Thursday hit and it was just like off the rails, and didn't know if I'd ever talk to him again or any of that kind of stuff. And so Sunday when I'm walking to the hospital, you kind of get this, realization. You're just like, my dad's been like 3 days in the shadow of death now, and still here. And when I get to the hospital, I get no call from the hospital about his status or anything, and so I didn't know what to expect. But when I got there, he was conscious again, and starting to speak, and all these different things, and like, Monday was supposed to be like a conversation about hospice, but the conversation changed to now like all of a sudden he's like making this miraculous recovery, and it was just like, holy shit, and staff at the hospital was calling it like a Christmas miracle that he's, like God raised him back to life, basically. And like even the doctor, which you could tell he was very science oriented materialist and stuff, but he even had to admit, the only thing that could describe this recovery was a miraculous recovery. And with that, got a lot of time then in those couple days to talk with my dad, and was able to hear that we made the right decision regarding what he desired to have happen. He didn't want machinery and being hooked up to that kind of shit. And and then going into the next kind of phase of this thing, it's just like so much hysterics, even from the doctors, it's like, this constant, like, kind of this chatter of like, well, worst case scenarios and fears. And even at one point, the doctor said to me, it was just like, well, the next fear we got to worry about is, fill in the blank. And it's just like, man, it's just like, they just don't get it. It's like, you can't predict a future based on the past like that, because you've never experienced a miraculous thing. And it was all coming together like just so repetitively of just like, when you stand in assumption, you start to see how those inner conversations start to reflect out. And that was the other end of this thing. I knew I was like, connected, with my dad, just as we're connected with you. I mean, we're all connected through God and through consciousness. And at the same time, you're seeing these patterns, emerge over and over again. It's with the staff and this and that. It's like, I kept thinking, it's like, well, I didn't know what God was going to do. I was trying to really, take a big gigantic step, out of the equation, and just like have faith and trust and everything. And so yeah, I didn't know what to expect. Part of my desire was like, he'd get these doctors and these hysterical people, and just like prove them wrong every step of the way and have like a miraculous thing and walk out of there, surprise them all, and like that was like my desire. And then that was what got brought to my awareness. Then after that is just like, well, look at all the people that are calling. People wanted to express their desires, it's like, and that was the other end of it. Everybody had their own point of view and perspective. It was all coming from a place of love, but it was like some people just butting heads and shit, and it's just like, seriously. That's crazy. And like yeah, a whole lot of that. But then it started to click, and then it came to my awareness, that Dad was just ready to go home, and it's just like once that realization hit, where it's just like, what does Dad actually desires? Like I'm just as guilty as everybody else trying to put these things on him. It's like, this is what I desire, just one thing after another, it's just showing them wrong, miracle after miracle, and like yeah, that and realizing that Dad just wanted to be in heaven. And it's like, okay, it's like, I support you in that, 100%, and it was like a weird type of love that, it's like that God showed me in that, where actually desiring something for another person and desiring their happiness over my own was a type of love I've never experienced before, and it was really eye-opening and enlightening, and all that kind of stuff. And so it was like that final day, I was like, I kind of like symbolically and spiritually, it just like all started coming together. It's just like, this is his cross to bear, that he's enduring it, and yeah, as soon as this is over, he's going to be, merged into the one. It's like, I just knew that God was also in control of the entire situation, and that to trust the process, because God already showed me that he miraculously could bring him back to life once, and he's going to bring him again, and like I'll be able to witness that miracle. And that was one of the things I was telling some people, in my space, that because with this being my dad and everything, it's a pretty intense experience for others to even hear that, because then it makes them kind of like relive like a really significant trauma in their own life, and then they kind of bond with me as we're talking about it. And so it's like, yeah, I witnessed this miracle that you can just see how people have just let that just slide away. It's just like, that hasn't left the forefront of my mind. Is that the entire thing was so synchronistic and symbolic. It felt very dreamlike at times, and just the amount of just presence of God in the situation, it was just like undeniable. It was just so intense like that. And so yeah, it's just like, and you tell during like the miraculous couple days where he was just recovering, and you almost sense like this like kind of sadness from people that didn't get that kind of a miraculous type of experience, but I tried to remind them, it's like, well, your miracle is just gonna be coming in the future. I mean, when you see them, that they're not dead, it's like, you'll see them raised back to life. That will be, something you will see. And and knowing that, then too, going into this thing, on that final day, you could just tell, and plus it was starting to line up with Christmas Day, and it was just like, I just had this feeling that he was going to pass on Christmas Day, just because of already all these spiritually significant things have been going on, that it's like, I just had this feeling. And like that whole Christmas Eve day, it's like, I went and seen him, sat with him for a bit, but you could tell that he wanted to. The amount of people, even at the end, that were like begging and like whatever, like him not to go, as I started seeing things more from his perspective, like, man, that is like pretty selfish of these people, and kind of rude. It's like, he's enduring all this, and they're just like begging him to just keep enduring and enduring, for their own thing, and it's like, it helped me even more, try to protect him from that, from others trying to uh, kind of just suck at that whatever's, and so I was able to try the best of my ability to give him peace and alone time between him and God, to endure that, and that's what I believe he wanted, and so yeah, and once I left the hospital, it was just like a trying to stay present, because that was the other thing. It created this environment in me where I was just like so present, and I'm still super present from that experience, and to the point is like you feel your heart beating and not beating, and wondering, at what point are you even connected with the body, where are you the pump, or are you the stillness? It's like this push and pull, is very kind of enlightening to think about, but like yeah, the whole experience where it was just like, okay, trying to stay present, but it's like, okay, well, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Is he still enduring? 6 o'clock in the afternoon, enduring. And just kept, it felt psychically, connected. Like, part of myself was dying, and that's how I was like kind of taking that last day. It's like, yeah, physically he was enduring now, psychologically and emotionally and spiritually. I felt like connected with that entire experience, and it got to a point, at night, where it's just like 11 o'clock, Christmas Eve. He's still enduring, and it's like, um, you know, I want to like psychically try to help in this, and so I'm going to surrender, myself, and just stop having this this back and forth drama going on, and just go to sleep. And when I woke up on Christmas Day, I just turned my phone off because I wasn't even in the area. It's like we had another Christmas thing, going on, and it's like trying to be there for the kids, to not have a sad, intense Christmas, and so, I ended up just turning my phone off, because I'd been getting so many phone calls and everything. I just wanted to have that space, to just be present, and everything else. And when I woke up, I seen that, he had passed during the night on Christmas Day. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and like ever since, it's like I've been just happy for him. It's just like that he wasn't continuously enduring, like to this day. It's like, he had his time on the cross, basically. So we all have like that we have experienced in loved ones around us, and then it was like, okay, well, it's still now. He's not enduring, he's in heaven. And there was like the kind of a series of events that were kind of traumatic, where it's like it didn't feel like his presence, and it was just like kind of panicky energy and stuff. But as I just continued to trust God and put my faith in like that, the kingdom of God, being within, and feeling that presence of God within, at night, it finally, it was like I could feel my dad merge with that, with God within. It's hard to describe, but it's like you could feel that essence change, and it was just like I just knew, that he was with God. Like now, I mean, he's still there, and it's like, and knowing now, it's something that everybody can experience, with the people that have passed, and it has gave me a different outlook on even, God. It's just like, I realized, so much of like kind of how I was like, my relationship with God was like also being, I don't know, almost like still kind of like thinking God was harsh and kind of judgmental and stuff like that. But like knowing that my dad is now one with that energy, it's like totally a different kind of feeling towards God. And also, the thing that has brought me a lot of like happiness and joy for my dad is this, to think, of him being in heaven like right now, and like what would I like for him? To be smiling, to be happy, to be doing and having anything he desires, and when you start to weigh, those against what was, what he would have to continued to endure, with everything that was going on with his body, versus, now he's in heaven, he's one with God, and just feeling nothing but love and not fear and suffering and torment. I'm legitimately happy for him, and it feels like not like a loss, like, oh, his body's gone and that I'll never be able to talk to him again. But it's like realizing that he's one with God means like I can talk to him now. It's almost like God showed me. He was like, pulls off the mask and it was him the whole time. If that makes sense. And it's like that for everybody. God wears all these bodies and everything, and that was what was intense about it, because it's like, seeing that firsthand, enduring all that, and he went from being like a dad to like a brother, in Christ, and seeing that switch, it was pretty intense. It still is intense. Still unpacking a lot of that kind of stuff, and and hopefully, for others that have experienced loss, to not think of it as the end. It's like even now, it's like I'm trying to like think of my dad not as the older guy, but like the youthful, full of life. I told my dad when this thing is over, he's gonna feel like a fucking badass. And I would like to see him in that condition. And so, in my mind's eye, thinking of him in heaven, giving him that kind of like, it's like that kind of a body, that kind of that, thinking, how he's having fun and feeling life, pure life. Death is an illusion, and that was one of the things I've said, but having experienced that and realizing it, even more so. It's like it was just a birth into this new experience. And like I said, I feel even more confident after experiencing this, that I will see him again, and everybody that's lost somebody will see them again, and in some way you can connect with them now as you realize that they have merged with the one consciousness, and that it's now showing you a different type of love that God has towards you. So it's like whether it's your dad or your mom, brother, sister, best friend, all those things, that love that they express towards you is now merged, and it's like it gives God a face. And hopefully that's a hopeful message for people, and to remember, it's like every time, maybe sadness or like despair starts to creep in, to remember that they're having an amazing time, they're experiencing pure love. It's us when we're drifting into the sadness or drifting into depression or drifting into despair. It's like, would you want your loved one in heaven to be going through these types of things? And it's like, no. And it's like, well, we're to bring heaven to earth, and so they're not gone. We're now working together tandemly, which is, something to think about and put into practice. It's like, as you think about all these heavenly encounters your loved ones may be experiencing with the one, realize that that's for you to also experience in the here and now on earth. And so, it's just the beginning of miracles as far as I'm concerned. It's like that, seeing God bring my dad back, like from the shadow of death like that, gives me even more confidence and assurance that no matter what happens, God's in control, and that God's way and God's will is the only thing that really does anything. It's like, I don't know how to put it other than that, but it definitely is, strengthens faith, on some level. I was like, I forget, I was maybe talking to somebody from church. It's like, I get these like waves of emotions and things, and it's like, maybe get some drama, because that didn't stop either. I mean, it's like, all of these other things going on, it's like it didn't take a break, from the drama, the hysteria, the fear, all that kind of stuff, so it's like trying to remain present and consciously able to choose to be to choose love ultimately. And then the other end of it, too, is God's continuing to use this as a thing to enlighten and understand Christmas, the birth of Christ, in a different way, in a powerful way that hopefully in time they can unpack and share with others so that they can understand that too. It's very powerful. And yeah, and like I said, I believe it's just the beginning of miracles. The Christmas miracle that we experienced in the hospital will continue to go out like a wave in this realm. And that's my hope for what what I hope to see in the reflection of reality. And so with that being said, I just hopefully that's on some level helpful, for somebody who might be experiencing loss, tragedy, any of these types of things. Try to look at it maybe through a different mindset, maybe through a different lens, and hopefully that brings peace. God is peace, and so that's and God's within you, and so it's like that connectivity that through the Holy Spirit is within you. And so if you're experiencing maybe a lot of sadness or trauma or loss or any of these types of things, instead of listening to the voice of fear and despair and suffering, choose to listen to the Holy Spirit and ask God, what is true, what is this about, what is real here. And don't be surprised when you start to become, things being added to your awareness to start to enlighten you on these different things. Because God is real, and heaven is a reality. And until I guess it's for everybody to build faith into experience, or I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's just like is for you to unpack. But with that being said, I appreciate you guys liking, sharing, subscribing. Appreciate all the social networking things. I appreciate your spiritual support and your financial support. Thank you for that. And other than that, until the next now, I think that's it. God bless.